Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are still with you from the Museum of Egyptian Modern Art. Actually, Egypt hosts several international biennials and triennials and regularly sends representatives to biennials around the world. If you are a fan of art, you have to give this museum a visit because you are going to indulge your soul in art and culture. Now, in order to know more about this very interesting place here in Cairo, we're very much honored to have with us Yumna Salama. She is a tour guide. Thank you very much, Yumna, for coming today.
My pleasure being with you.
Thank you, Yumna. Welcome to Nile Cruise. Yumna, do normal tourist programs include art exhibitions?
Well, we have the standard and the normal tourist program includes normally the Museum for Egyptian Art, Ancient Egyptian Art, Islamic art and Coptic art. However, the standard, normal, they do not include art galleries or museums. That comes when the guests are highly interested in art or they request such museums in their program.
So, Yumna, is artistic tourism well used in Egypt, or don't you think so?
Well, it depends. If we want to talk about artistic tourism in general, of course, the ancient Egyptian art, the Pharaonic era, and the Islamic and the Coptic also is very rich in art. But if you are talking about the modern art, that's not very well used in Egypt, and we need to promote that.
Okay.
Yeah, so do annual art exhibitions serve as a promotion for tourism, in your view, Yumna?
No, in my personal opinion, they do not. However, we have the folkloric and the culture exhibitions. They serve as a promotion for tourism. We have different kinds of folkloric exhibitions and events, and also culture heritage exhibitions. They can be a very good promotion for tourism.
Okay, what are the artistic museums that are worth visiting here in Cairo? In Cairo and Alexandria, if I may say. Not only Cairo, because I know there are interesting museums in Alexandria.
Yes, of course. I will again say from my personal experience as a tourist guide and my personal opinion, I will put on the top of the list the Museum of Ancient Egyptian Art in Tahrir Square. And then hopefully next year will be the Grand Egyptian Museum and the Giza area. And then we have the Coptic Museum, Coptic art, Islamic art. And then we have the Greek and the Roman art in Alexandria, Greek and Roman art. And we have the exhibition of Shadi Abdel Salam in the Library of Alexandria.
And Yumna, as a tour guide, do you need special preparation to take your tourists into tours of museums? Is there any special preparation that you make when you take your tourists to museums?
Well, I would say proudly, most Egyptian tour guides are very well trained and very well experienced, so we don't need special preparation for going into the Egyptian Museum, the Islamic Museum, Coptic or Greco-Roman. However, if the schedule or the program of the tourist include a special art museum like the one we're talking about today, or a special gallery, it would be highly recommended, of course, for the tour guide to read a little bit about the history of the artist, about his famous work, pieces, and so on.
Okay. I believe, Yumna, that the problem would be tourists who come to visit Egypt, they have so much to see, and they come for a few days, perhaps a week, maybe a couple of weeks maximum.
Right.
So their program is actually packed. And there lies the challenge of trying to put some museum visits in their schedule or in their program, especially when it's modern art museum. How do you see that?
Well, first of all, you're right. I'm always talking about the majority of tourists. They have a limited number of days. It will not exceed a week. And they still, as you said, Egypt is very rich, so they still have to go to Cairo, Alexandria, Luxor, Aswan. Some of them want to go to the Red Sea. So it's a challenge to include museums of modern art and galleries during this program. However, travel agencies can work on promoting this kind of tourism when we have a longer period of time. When the tourist is staying, for example, 2 weeks or more, then this will be possible. But for the standard, some tourists, they only have 4 days. So for the standard, it's a big challenge. But if we have repeaters who came to Egypt before, we can include art galleries and modern art museums.
And Yumna, from your experience, can you tell us which nationalities basically are more keen on visiting museums than others? Is there such a group or people that come from certain countries that consider this a sacred mission, for instance, and who really enjoy and you listen to the ohs and wows when they're watching?
Well, the ohs and wows, you hear it from all tourists from all around the world, mainly impressed by the ancient Egyptian art, the pharaonic era, because this is an era that it's very rich in art from all aspects. So we hear this all the time. And of course, when they visit the Coptic Museum for Coptic art and for Islamic art, they also love it. I cannot tell you a certain nationality because at the end, people who are interested in art, that's a personal perspective. So if you have a guest who is interested in art, then you find the guest asking about other galleries. We take some guests to Darb 1718 in El Fustat area. We take others to Mahmoud Mukhtar Museum upon request. Those are the clients or the guests who are highly interested, and it spreads all around the world. So I cannot really tell you like the French or the British, because it's a personal thing. When it comes to art and music, it's a personal thing.
Right.
No, you said something very important. It's upon their request, which means that they are aware that such museums do exist. Now the problem here, or I believe that the challenge, is that so many do not even know that such museum exists and it's there, so they would not ask to come and visit.
You are right.
And it lies at a very exquisite location. It's in the heart of the Opera House, very close to everything, very close to Tahrir Square, very close to Cairo Tower, very close to landmarks here in Egypt, and even surrounded by hotels in the area. So it wouldn't be a problem for them to come and visit. The problem would be for them to know that this museum is here. So what can be done to promote such type of museums?
Well, as you said, if the guest asks, it means that he has a previous background or came to Egypt before and he wants to see something new. But we are talking about the ones who doesn't know. It would be nice to have some brochures in the hotels, maybe provided by the Ministry of Tourism or Culture, listing the museums of modern art in Egypt, and it can be given to the guest in hotels. Especially, as you said, the hotels are just in the background, in the area. So if they give it to them, because the guest, if he's interested, he can Google. If you Google, you will find the list of modern museums in Cairo and so on. But if he doesn't know and he's sitting one relaxed afternoon and he doesn't know where to go, and maybe he cannot reach the guide, if they give these brochures listing the museums of modern art, and especially if they have special exhibitions, like when we have folkloric exhibition or cultural heritage of Egypt.
The Nubian Museum.
Nubian Museum,
yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Last year we had Ahl Masr, people of Egypt. That was about cultural heritage as well. If we have something about modern art. So to give brochures, this is one way to promote. Of course, I would request from the travel agencies to put it as optional tours, to be provided as optional tours in the afternoon. We have the challenge that we have a lot to offer. This is the challenge. We have a lot to offer, so you can offer.
By the way, it could be free, Yumna. I mean, this could be a free trip, like I've been to several countries, and they would like give you a program and include certain sites as free.
Well, the travel agency will not offer a free program because this
No,
is
not
their
a free
business.
program, a free site to see within the program.
Within the program, however, the guests will pay for the transportation and so
Exactly.
on. But if it's provided at the hotel, just a brochure, they can come a walk-in distance.
Yes,
And
that's one way
if
to do it.
Yeah, and if they are able to do it, and if the travel agency will put it as optional tour, like an evening of modern art in Cairo, and they can take them from Darb 1718 to maybe Townhouse in Zamalek, the gallery of Townhouse. They can come here to the Opera House. That will be an idea as a side program or optional program, because as I said, our standard programs are packed already by the many things we are
Yes.
offering our guests.
But the thing is, the Opera House here hosts daily activities. I mean, you can come here for concerts, ballet, dancing shows, everything. We have like on a daily basis here at the Opera House. So it
Yes.
would be nice to give the Opera House a visit, check out what's going on, and visit the museum as well.
If the guests and the tourists are not worn out after a long day, pyramids, Saqqara, museum, mosques and churches, and they have time, the first question they ask, and I'm telling you that based on my personal experience, if they are in hotels surrounding the area, the first thing they ask, what's this white building? The
Uh-huh.
Opera House. We start telling them about it because we pass by, picking them up and bringing them back to the hotel, and then they ask, we are going to walk. Is it safe to walk to the Opera House tonight? And every tour guide will tell them, sure, just cross the bridge or walk around the islands of Zamalek and go in the Opera House. And we tell them that you can go into concerts, you can go into a show, you can go into the library, the music library here
Yes.
in the Opera House is also interesting. So we tell them that, but it's just a question of time and whether the guest, the tourist, physically prepared to do something else in the evening.
Extra work.
Yes, yes.
Yumna, how is tourism picking up as of late?
Touch wood, thanks
Good.
God. We are expecting a booming season, and this season was a very good season. The next one is a promising one. I don't want to do any advertising here, but very big names in the travel business in the United States and in Europe, they have already fully booked our Nile cruises, our hotels for the coming season. So touch wood, and
Great.
God bless Egypt.
Yes,
Well,
amen.
That's excellent news to hear, and a perfect way to wrap up this segment of Nile Cruise. I'd like to thank you very much, Yumna Salema, our tour guide, for being with us today.
Thank you, Hala.
Thank you, Yumna.
Thank you, Mohammed. It was
Thank
a
you.
pleasure being with you.
Pleasure's ours.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be right back to resume this edition of Nile Cruise after a short break.